A symbol to the nation. A hero to the world. The story of Captain America is one of honor, bravery, and sacrifice. Denied enlistment due to poor health, Stephen Rogers was chosen for a program unique in the annals of American warfare. One that would transform him into the world's first super soldier.
Not long ago, Captain America meant something, a symbol of heroism, conviction, and storytelling that stood strong like the shield itself. But now, with Disney Marvel's latest entry, that shield feels like less of a symbol and more like a corporate logo slapped onto yet another soulless, CGI-riddled assembly line product. From 2008 to 2019, the Infinity Saga did something never before seen and most likely will never be done again, successfully executing an interconnected story across 23 films, culminating in a grand emotional payoff.
Iron Man.
It was the cinematic equivalent of an epic comic series come to life from the page to the screen, rewarding audiences who stuck with it for over a decade. But all good things come to an end, or better yet, they should come to an end. But here we are, 5 years and 3 phases later. Like Icarus, they just couldn't let it go. They flew directly into the sun, and we've all been getting burned by the never-ending movies and Disney Plus shows that make up phases 4 through 6, aka the we're figuring it out era. Disney Marvel's quality, reputation, and overall direction has been plummeting to the earth ever since.
Look at me. I'm such a dick.
I think it's safe to say that most people have woken up to the unfortunate fact that the MCU isn't what it used to be, and not only are we tired of multiverses and interconnected shows and movies that feel more like homework than entertainment, we're also tired of unoriginality and stories that just won't end. It's been 16 years since Disney acquired Marvel Entertainment for a whopping $4 billion, giving them control over Marvel Studios, which at the time had already launched the MCU with Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk in 2008. Under Disney, the MCU expanded massively, turning into the box office juggernaut we know today. But it's no longer cinematic gold waiting at the end of the rainbow. The once great House of Mouse has turned into the evil empire looming over our favorite franchises of old. They continue to have the anti-Midas touch, tarnishing every single brand and studio it's acquired over the years. A curse that seems to have latched on to Harrison Ford because with the arrival of Captain America 4, aka Captain America Brave New World, it's clear that this well has run dry and all that's left are broken characters and crumbling worlds.
As far as I'm concerned, that's America's ass.
That is America's ass.
Spoiler alert, I did not enjoy this film, but I also didn't hate it. It's so incredibly uninspired and mediocre that the time the credits rolled, full-on apathy had set in, and then by the time the pointless after-credit scene was over, I wound up just feeling sad. Sad for what this once great brand was and what it could have been if they knew when to leave well enough alone.
Stop! He's already dead!
If they would have chosen to take the high road, taken a break after the Infinity Saga, and let us miss them a little bit, they could have come back stronger than ever with a brand new mutant saga. But instead, we get this. Captain America Brave New World, a cinematic calamity that encapsulates everything wrong with corporate mandated storytelling. A film so desperate to capture the grounded political intrigue of the Winter Soldier that it pulled inspiration from the Manchurian Candidate, but landed closer to Zoolander, except without the self-awareness, charm, or humor.
I understood that reference.
Instead of crafting a tense, paranoid thriller, we get a superhero flick, minus the super soldier serum, that plays out like a bad stitched-together TV movie with slightly better CGI. At least Zoolander knew it was ridiculous.
Do as you've been trained to do, and kill the Malaysian Prime Minister!
Overbloated and overstuffed, Captain America 4 is neither brave nor does it do anything new. The film wants you to take Sam Wilson seriously as the new Captain America, but it constantly undercuts its own weightier themes with clunky expository dialogue, inserted to catch everyone up, generic action sequences, and a villain who feels like he wandered in from a different movie, well, because he did wander in from a different movie. It's the leader from the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie. Remember him? Even Harrison Ford, now playing Thaddeus Ross in the wake of William Hurt's passing, as last seen in the Black Widow movie, looks like he's just waiting for the paycheck to clear. But to his credit, he's been very open about accepting jobs now for the money.
That's what the money is for.
It's not magic. It's commerce.
But I'm not here to do what the film did by wasting any more of your time, so let's jump into the plot, shall we? Our story kicks off with Sam Wilson, once again played by Anthony Mackie, stepping into the star-spangled shoes of Captain America, after we saw Steve Rogers pass the shield on to him at the end of Endgame. If you're wondering why everyone automatically accepts him as Cap and he doesn't at all wrestle with taking on the immense responsibility as a regular human man without any super soldier serum, well, you'll have to watch the Disney Plus show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. At this point, I don't know why they don't seriously consider including a previously on before every single one of their future films, because there is not one single person out there who thought they'd have to watch 2008's Hulk movie starring Edward Norton as Bruce Banner to understand this movie.
Previously on Lost.
Enter Harrison Ford as General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, who opens the film giving a speech that includes references to the snap and the emergence of the giant celestial sticking out of the Indian Ocean. Finally, someone acknowledges the events of the Eternals. Because you saw the Eternals, right? How exactly does he know to call that thing a celestial? Unclear. Did it cause massive destruction given the earthquakes and water displacement that it surely caused? Not addressed. All you need to know is that it's there and everyone is fighting over what's inside. Ross, now the US president, is on a quest to atone for past sins, especially in the eyes of his daughter Betty. You remember Betty, right? And he's leading the charge of nations duking it out over control over a newly discovered element, adamantium, found in the remains of the Celestial. So if nothing else, this will be known as the film that introduces adamantium into the MCU. Enter Sam Wilson's Captain America, flying into action with Falcon's wings, Wakandan-made vibranium suit, an Ant-Man-looking helmet that disappears and reappears every time he speaks, Iron Man-level accessories, and of course, Cap's shield. He's a Frankenstein's monster of a hero stitched together, but I'll get to what I think of Mackie's turn as Cap later. Sam is sent to retrieve a piece of stolen adamantium, also serving as a way to introduce his own little up-and-coming sidekick, Joaquin, who hopes to become the new Falcon. So not only do we have a hand-me-down Cap, but we have a hand-me-down Falcon as well. Not to mention the hand-me-down Hulk and hand-me-down Black Widow we get later. So really, this is Captain America, sad old knockoffs the movie. Speaking of old, we also get to meet Isaiah Bradley. At least you'll be meeting him if you didn't watch Falcon and Winter Soldier. You watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right?
You've got to do better.
Joaquin fangirls over him, calling him the Forgotten Cap, and to be fair, he should be treated as a big deal, but all these characters were not deemed important enough to get their own theatrical origin stories, which is a shame because out of all the characters in the film, it's Isaiah Bradley that comes away with the most presence and untapped potential. I legit felt bad for the guy, but his brief introduction serves as a way to get us to the inciting incident, with tensions rising over the shiny new resource that, and I quote, is even more indestructible than vibranium. An assassination attempt on President Ross goes tits up while he's trying to strike a treaty with other countries. The culprit is none other than a mind-controlled Isaiah Bradley and other Secret Service agents, because when you can't think of anything else to do, bring in brainwashing. A few more squabbles go down, including a small part going to Giancarlo Esposito in the only kind of role he's been able to get after Breaking Bad, playing a character known as Sidewinder in the comics. No offense to him, but seeing Sam have a tough time against a 60-plus-year-old man didn't exactly scream Captain America. But he isn't the big bad. The real villain is revealed to be the nefarious Samuel Stearns, aka the leader played by returning Tim Blake Nelson. He's been orchestrating the chaos from his secret prison where he's been allowed to operate with everything he needs to enact his sinister plan, seeking revenge on Ross, who had promised to pardon him once he became president, but he didn't stay true to his word. Why? Not clear. But for some reason, Ross trusted Stearns enough to let him supply him with pills to help with his heart problem, but wouldn't you know it, Stearns has actually been giving him gamma radiation that will turn Ross into the Red Hulk. You know, as one does. Like he's supposed to be this secret evil genius and that is all he can come up with. In the midst of this convoluted mess, there's also this teeny tiny Ruth Bath Seraph character, a former widow turned security advisor for Ross who doesn't trust Sam at first but helps him out in the end by beating up a bunch of dudes 3 times her size in spite of not being a mutant like she's supposed to be in the comics. And no offense to the actress, I'm also pretty small, only being 5'1", and I also do not believe that she'd be able to do this. Like, why don't you just give her superpowers? That doesn't make any sense. But as seen in the trailers, because practically the whole film is in the trailer, the climax is a showdown between Sam and the Red Hulk amidst the cherry blossoms of Washington, D.C., symbolizing the connection between Thaddeus and his daughter Betty. That's right, the emotional payoff for the movie is nothing to do with Sam. It's all about Ross and his daughter Betty. You remember Betty. Ross, now as the Red Hulk, lays waste to the White House, and because Sam can't believably defeat the Red Hulk without being a super soldier, he talks him down, being all like, I know you want to change, and prove it to Betty, and that's enough to do the trick. The film concludes with the leader going back into custody, Joaquin being a little banged up, Isaiah being vindicated, Ross is also behind bars, but somehow redeemed after being the president for a hot minute and turning into the Hulk and turning back into Ross. Oh hey, there's Betty! They nearly escape a war with Japan over the control of adamantium, which clearly is a stand-in for China, but Disney didn't want to go there. Sam remains a non-superpowered Captain America, and oh yeah, Bucky stops by and for some reason is now a politician running for Congress. Cause that totally makes sense. And that's the movie. Disney Marvel's formulaic storytelling is in full effect here, but this time, it's missing the spark that once made these movies feel larger than life. The stakes, artificial. The action, passable but uninspired. The political commentary, toothless. If Winter Soldier was a spy thriller with superheroes, Brave New World is what happens when Marvel tries to recapture that magic without actually putting in the effort. It's less Brave New World and more mediocre old routine. So how did it come to this? Well, apparently Brave New World underwent a production process that can only be described as let's throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. The film ended up getting passed through the hands of 5 separate writers, and it's almost as if Marvel held a raffle to decide who would pen the next scene. The director, in an attempt to downplay the bedlam, insisted that the reshoots were just part of the process. Meanwhile, Anthony Mackie tried to assure fans that reshoots are as standard as craft services on a Marvel set. Yet, whispers from the set and a scathing Vulture article suggest a different story, with reports of frustrations and indecisiveness plaguing the production. This is what happens when you have to make a movie versus want to make a movie. But you won't hear me faulting the actors. There's no way Anthony Mackie would have known when he was originally brought in to play Falcon that he'd be given the opportunity to play Captain America, let alone have to follow Chris Evans' phenomenal performance as Steve Rogers. And yeah, he probably shouldn't have said what he did on the press tour.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations.
But actors are often put on the spot and baited into saying the wrong things during press tours these days. But I also can't help but feel a little deja vu back to when he was chosen to follow in Joel Kinnaman's footsteps for the 2nd season of Altered Carbon. Phenomenal first season, which sadly fell off a cliff in season 2 and was cancelled for it. He's a great Falcon, but it's not him, it's Sam. We don't even really get to know Sam. What's his backstory? At times in the movie, he felt like a guest star in his own film. His introduction in Winter Soldier was perfectly done, and he makes a great Falcon.
On your left.
But that's just it. He is Falcon. The whole passing of the mantle thing is getting out of hand. All it does is invalidate and diminish both the original character and the one taking it on. Why can't Falcon just be Falcon? Why does he need to be propped up to be Captain America in order to get his own movie? Can he not lead a film as Falcon? Let him be his own man. At least it doesn't try to go as far as Thor 4 tried to do when they tried to pass on Thor to Jane. Thor is not a mantle, it's literally his name and his power.
Not a great plan.
But if you're going to do this, you gotta have him take the serum. There's no excuse anymore. Even by the end of the film, he says Bucky was crazy to tell him he didn't need it. It's not believable. This isn't a Tony Stark or Bruce Wayne situation where he can make up for the lack of superpowers with his own tech or intellect. Literally everything Sam has is given to him. What happens when his gear breaks in the field? Can he fix it himself? Cause you sure as hell haven't shown us that he can. Where does he get his funding from now? The Air Force? He doesn't even get to fight his own villains. Nothing in the film felt earned or believed, and it just made me feel sad for him. For a company that has been so obsessed with identity and representation the last few years, they clearly didn't believe that Sam can stand on his own as himself. Race swaps will always be lazy and feel like a shortcut. We deserve our own characters, not hand-me-downs. And for anyone who wants to say, but they did this in the comics. Yeah, you mean the comics that came out in 2014 under the ownership of Disney and wasn't received well either? You can't possibly expect us to believe that wasn't done without the intent it would carry over to the films too. And speaking of the comics, Disney could learn a thing or two by how Japanese companies handle the production of manga, aka their version of graphic novels, which has taken over the space Western comics once held. Those have a beginning, middle, and an end. When they put out films as companion pieces to their anime series, the films are either side stories that don't have anything to do with the mainline story so they won't be missed, or the film's story is incorporated into the shows. Demon Slayer Mugen Train is a great example of this, releasing as a movie, then being cut up and integrated as part of the next season. If Disney Marvel did this, then people wouldn't be left out not having watched a Disney Plus show in between movies. But going back to the titular character, Sam Wilson has not been written as a three-dimensional character who is as interesting as Steve Rogers. Created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby in 1940, Captain America was born out of a need for a patriotic hero. Simon and Kirby, both Jewish-American creators by the way, hated what Hitler and the Nazis were doing in Europe. They wanted a hero who stood against tyranny and inspired the American people to take a stand. Steve Rogers wasn't born a hero, he was a frail, sickly kid from Brooklyn, beaten down but never backing down.
I can do this all day.
He would jump on a grenade to save his friends, and that was before the super soldier serum. Raised during the Great Depression, he had nothing but his unyielding spirit and a belief that strength exists to protect, not oppress. Steve Rogers is Captain America, but I'm reasonable. With the right talent behind the writing and right angle, Sam Wilson could have been a Captain America, but that's not what we got. It never felt earned. Having Bucky step into Cap's shoes, trying to wrestle with once being the Winter Soldier while trying to stay true to Steve's wishes could have been a lot more interesting. But if they insist on giving the mantle to Sam and continue to go on and on about him not taking the serum, show us the real consequences of that decision. Have him feel every punch, even if it means that he's close to death after every fight, especially the finale. But it felt like he was never in any real danger. Sam didn't feel the impact, so neither can we. In the end, Captain America Brave New World serves as a testament to what happens when a film's development is as uneven as its plot. At this point, it's clear that the MCU is running on fumes. There was a time when a new Captain America film felt like an event, with the trilogy standing on its own apart from the Infinity Saga. Now it feels like a contractual obligation. Brave New World isn't offensively bad, but it's aggressively forgettable. And honestly, for a franchise that once ruled the box office with Endgame, that might be the worst crime of all. The Infinity Saga was tight, focused, and ended on a massive high note with Endgame. The Multiverse Saga has been messier, with some big hits like No Way Home and Guardians 3, but a lot of mediocre filler like Quantumania and The Marvels. Disney Marvel is clearly building towards Secret Wars, but will it recapture the magic of the Infinity Saga? Doubtful. But for those among you who are willing to take one for the team and keep going, Godspeed and let us know how it goes. Because I think I'm kinda checked out. So there you have it. The MCU is at a crossroads. So much is riding on Thunderbolts and the third time around for the Fantastic Four coming later in 2025. They could either bounce back or fizzle more into superhero fatigue that's become more and more true after every single entry. Maybe Martin Scorsese was right. These are the cinematic equivalent to theme park rides. But even if they are, I'd rather they be on the grand scale and quality of the Wizarding World rather than the lackluster disappointment of Galaxy's Edge. Anyways, what do you think? If you enjoyed the film, I'd love to know why, and if you didn't, are you prepared to give it another go? Let's discuss in the comments, and until next time, be safe and stay cultured.